Hello, welcome again to another episode of Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid, the podcast that explores sustainable solutions for the most pressing issues facing our planet and communities today. I'm Planet Aid's Communications Manager, Haley Chitty, and I'm going to turn it over to our host, Planet Aid's Communication and Content Specialist, Monica Johnson. I'll jump back in later to ask a few follow-up questions. Thanks so much, and Monica, take it away.
Thank you, Haley, and welcome to Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid. Again, my name is Monica Johnson, and today we are going to be talking to Megan Anderson, who is the Vice President of Learning and Engagement at the National Aquarium in Baltimore. Megan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Megan, I just want to jump in because, if you live in Baltimore, for the most part, you have probably been to the aquarium, I think. There's a lot of people who've been to the aquarium, and, it's just a wonderful destination. Can you tell us a little bit about the National Aquarium in Baltimore and, your job and what makes the aquarium so special?
Sure. So the National Aquarium, despite its name, is in Baltimore, Maryland, and it is a nonprofit organization. We have about 1.2 million people that come through our doors every single year, and we have close to 20,000 animals to see when you come to the aquarium. But more importantly, we have a big conservation mission to hopefully help inspire everyone that comes to the aquarium to have care for our ocean planet.
Wow. That's so good because one of the things that we want to talk to you about, of course, is our waterways, our water sources and our waterways. And there's so much attention and fascination and joy and peace that comes from just being around water. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about why you think it's so fascinating to people, and also there is a whole life that's sustained by the water, so just kind of go into that and how it's reflected in the National Aquarium in Baltimore.
Sure. Well, one of the interesting things that I like to do in my job is really consider where we as humans come from in terms of perspectives, and we live on land, right? So we're not aqua people, and we like to often view water at the surface. And so most of our impressions, most of our starting thoughts around water is seeing it calm and at the surface. But that is anything but what water means to our world. Water is, you can think of it as kind of the circulatory system of our planet. It is, of course, covers about 2/3 of our planet. And besides that, where we live on land, we are all part of different watersheds. As water falls out of the sky, it passes right down our roads, our driveways, our lawns, and it goes right into the same giant ocean that we are all a part of. So this huge circulatory system, which pumps heat, water, nutrients around our planet, controls our climate. It is, even though we are not living in it, it is 100% what drives kind of everything that goes on around us, including the health of our planet. And so understanding that people come from a place of seeing water at the surface, and yet water is essential, and our oceans a healthy ocean is essential to our future. That's our big hope, that we get to talk to people about and connect them to all of those important and fascinating parts of our ocean.
That's really good. I love that because, like you said, when we do look at the water on the surface, for me, I just love to be anywhere around water. So it's just calming, but it's a whole world underneath, what we see. So, and I love the fact that you bring that to us and you open our eyes to those kinds of things. So another example of a natural habitat that the aquarium highlights is the rainforest. And the rainforest, what can guests learn from this type of immersion when they go into the rainforest? Because many of us are not going to see a rainforest in our lives. So what is that immersion, and why did you want to bring that to the aquarium?
Sure. So with all water spaces, I think you touched on it nicely. They offer a blue mind. The late great Jay Wallace coined the term blue mind, which is really when you are near or close to water, any sort of sound, sight, anything like that brings restorative mental health effects to you. So being around water in any way or capacity is good for our minds. And so everywhere around the aquarium is restorative, but the places where you are completely surrounded, there's no glass or acrylic between you and the water and the ecosystem. Studies show that that is an even more impactful way to connect people and make sure that we really understand the environment and the world around us. So both the rainforest exhibit and the Australia exhibit, which are both immersive spaces, you walk in and you really feel like you have traveled to a different part of the world, and you are able to just step into that space in a way that you wouldn't in kind of any other capacity besides traveling halfway across the country.
And I love that also because I believe that there's even birds that are in that space too, right?
Oh, yes. We've got some really loud ones, the screaming piahs, which are you can't miss them. It almost sounds like an audio recording. And then we have the birds that get really curious and get really close to people. And we give them caws and ibises and all sorts of different interactions going on all around you. And sometimes it gets really interesting in there. The birds get a little too close, and we have to hop on radio and have one of our aviculturists come out and make sure that the birds don't get too close.
Oh, that's an exciting day at the aquarium, huh? Okay, so you have days for accessible guests, and I really love that. You also have access days when the prices go half price off of the normal price. Why was that a priority for the aquarium?
Right. So access, there's a lot of different ways that we like to offer access for the aquarium. So you're mentioning the half price Friday nights, which is an opportunity for anyone who might have a hard time paying the full price of a ticket can come on a Friday night and experience the same exhibits and the same experiences. But in addition to that, we do have a lot of other different accessibility days and accessibility ways. We have Maryland mornings and discounts for veterans, and we have all sorts of things that once you come in the building, if you have any sort of needs, hearing, visual, anything along those lines, we have a lot of resources for you. And I would hope that we do have a great website that kind of sets up and pulls through these resources, but we are really, really happy to provide these for folks. Everything from braille tours, audio wireless tours, touch bags with tactile items, sensory bags, scripts for all of our public presentations. And in addition, we make sure that our staff go through several different trainings to be prepared to meet the needs of all the guests that come to our building. We really just want to provide as much access for as many people as possible, because we know that the benefits of getting close to nature, connecting with nature, are for everyone. And so any way we can do that, we will. And in addition, we have our harbor wetland, which is our newest exhibit, and that is open and free and accessible all year round.
That's wonderful, because that was my next question. I also love the fact that that is open and free, and anybody from downtown Baltimore on their break from lunch or whatever, they can come in and they can walk around that area. Tell us a little bit about that. When you go there, what can you expect? And tell us a little bit about some of the reactions that you have gotten from the people who have visited that.
So we opened just last August, and we're really excited this summer to see a full summer of use for this place, and especially as the plants grow up. But a long time ago, the Baltimore City Harbor used to be wetland, marshland, which was this thriving, beautiful ecosystem. And then when we came in and changed it up a little bit, we've really dramatically changed the environment. So bringing this harbor wetland and putting these things back gives the harbor a little bit of a breath of fresh air in a way, gives a lot of animals the habitat back that they lost. And so the initial piece of this is just to restore a little bit of the harbor health by installing the harbor wetland. But then the most amazing thing is that it is our backyard for Baltimore City. And for people to actually realize that their aquatic backyard is teeming with life, and from otters to pipefish to all sorts of interesting birds. And we are seeing so many different species already with just the small plants that we have right now. And so it's really exciting to see this whole ecosystem kind of grow up, and then folks come by and see it.
And it's like the definition of if you build it, they will come, huh?
Yeah, definitely for the animals. The otters
Mhm.
have made it their personal latrine. And so
Uh-oh.
we are so privileged to provide that for the otters. But when people come, so far what we've noticed is that they really use that. We were talking earlier about kind of blue mind. They really use that as a moment to be reflective and be calm. So we do have staff out there that are happy to answer questions, but we notice that folks that go out there just kind of want to sit and reflect and take a deep breath. And that's what we've noticed so far, and that's great because that is one of the big goals of this space, is to have people, use this space for what they need in terms of connecting to our environment.
And I'm so jealous because I worked downtown for 5 years at a museum that's very close to the National Aquarium, Children's Museum, you might know. And I used to walk right over there and sit right down and like you said, just enjoy that water space. But I never got a chance to, see this part of it. So I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing that. So, one of the things that you also do is you have a fellowship to inspire environmental leaders.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Sure. So it's called the Leaders for Environmental Action Fellowship, and LEAF for short. And it is a year-round program for Baltimore City high school students in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And it's really an opportunity to foster positive youth development and have them kind of learn through practice, develop environmental stewardship. And we really want to instill them with the values, the knowledge, and the skills so that they can advocate for environmental justice. It is a paid opportunity, so students that do this will be paid for their time. And during the school year, it's usually every other Saturday. And then in the summertime, they do get an opportunity to do a Monday through Friday fellowship opportunity through both July and parts of August.
High school.
High school students, Baltimore City high school students.
Okay.
And most of the things that they're doing are learning through action. So it's not sitting in a classroom. It's not PowerPoints and spreadsheets. It is going out there working with other great organizations like Tree Keepers, Tree Baltimore, and Weed Warriors, and doing different action projects with all of those different organizations where they can plant some trees, understand all of the different small things that they can do in their community that will make a big difference in terms of greening up the spaces and providing a healthier environment.
And how long has this program been going on?
So there's been different versions of this program for as long as I've been at the aquarium, which is over 13 years now. But this year is kind of a new version where we're trying to be even more hands-on than we have been before, and better compensate the students for their time.
So you have a track record of people coming through this program. What have you seen as far as people coming back and kind of sharing their stories and how it has helped them and inspired them?
Yeah, so we do have several different youth programs at the aquarium. And through all of those different ones, we do see people come back in various forms, whether that's through positions at the aquarium. We have a lot of folks in our aquarium now who 10 years ago went through these different programs. We are finding that it does help themselves see themselves in a position where they can be helping the environment and following their passion, which is to really be better for our planet.
And I love that also because, that I think that I see that as part of accessibility because if if you have access to a space and you can see yourself in that space, and you can see yourself making a living in that space or helping to provide answers for that space. So it sounds like a really great opportunity. Can you tell us or tell our listeners and viewers how people can get involved with that?
Sure. So the LEAF program, we accept applications in November and December for the school year.
Mhm.
Sorry, for the calendar year, really.
Mhm.
The interviews take place in January, and you get notified at the end of January if you're selected for the program for that year. And then, so I would encourage anyone who's interested in this program to keep an eye on the website starting in early November.
Any kind of requirements that they have to have in order to, be a part of the program academically or?
So at this moment, the main requirements are that you have to be enrolled in either grades 9, 10, and 11.
Mhm.
You have to be able to commit to the time
Mhm.
in all of the different program sessions throughout the year. And you have to attend a Baltimore City or Baltimore County high school.
Very good. All right. I'm sure that's going to be helpful to someone. So
I
thank
hope
you so
so.
much.
Yeah, we really do love seeing students join this and seeing them grow through the program, even in a single year, the amount of growth. And then if they do really enjoy the program, they're eligible to stay on for future years.
Good, good, good. So, going back to kind of the health of the ocean, one of the things that the United Nations did was to kind of declare the 2020s as a decade for the ocean. We're halfway through. First of all, we're in 2025. So, what are some of the things that you've seen emerging as kind of uh, the concerns or even some of the explorations that have been highlighted for the aquarium, kind of in conjunction with the decade of the ocean?
Sure. So I will go back to, I feel like this is kind of a question that is really easy for me because as an aquarium, that is our whole mission, right? So
Mhm.
our mission is to connect people with nature, to inspire compassion and care for our ocean planet.
Right.
The way that we've broken it apart into kind of all the things that we really care about is we have a conservation action plan,
Mhm.
and three kind of big sections of that plan. One is really focused on our changing climate and all of the things that are taking place that can affect people and places. Another piece is focused on kind of pollution, and particular plastic pollution, and ways that we can uh, reduce our use, especially of single-use plastics. And then the third one is really focused on kind of the ecosystem, the biodiversity of our planet, and restoring places for both animals and people.
Good. Very good. Um, And and it's funny that you said, you are an aquarium, so you're always focused on this. You don't have to have a decade that's named for that. But at the same time, thank you for answering that because, obviously these are some of the issues that are really important to people right now, especially focusing on the health of the ocean because there's so much going on as far as like one of the things that we talk about is the fact that there are so many pollutants that are coming into the ocean. And, us being Planet Aid, we see that the textiles, some of these things are ending up in the ocean. And, you all stand to be kind of that light that says, take care of the ocean, be good stewards of the ocean. So,
Right. I think the other, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the I really see our role at the aquarium is understanding where people are coming from and
mhm,
understanding the next best solution for our planet and being that bridge. So really helping people in most cases connect to the world of water, really develop that love, that empathy for the aquatic environment, and then being able to give them those really tangible solutions like you mentioned microplastics. So, what can we do about microplastics in our home, in our lives, in our communities? And same is true for all of our changing climate and all those different pieces. What is the best thing that we can do when people come to the aquarium that will help them be inspired, be hopeful, and take that next step in their own personal conservation journey?
and I'm guessing these are kind of the seeds of how exhibits are made. So tell us a little bit about that. And from what I understand, you have been instrumental in making, one of the really great exhibits that is at the aquarium. So please let us know a little bit about that.
Sure. I'm really proud of how we develop our exhibits at the aquarium, because we really think about the educational goals
Mhm.
at the very early onset. I think it's very tempting for zoos and aquariums to be like, oh, well, let's just add a whole place for elephants, and start envisioning trees here and things there. But to really start with, what do we want people walking away knowing, feeling, and doing? What's their
Mm.
action? And really building it out from there. And so that's our process. Is we really get all of the different departments together, agreeing on that piece. Then we build the exhibit. We do evaluation in the beginning, understanding where people are coming from in terms of knowledge and attitudes. And then we do evaluation again at the end to make sure we've met our goals and we can make changes based on the evaluation that shows us. Back in 2015, I was a part of the exhibit built for Living Seashore, which is our touch pool exhibit, which again is immersive. So you're getting close. There's nothing between you and the animal. It's really building those empathic bridges between young children that are so essential for future environmentalists. So making sure that we have really achieved those goals of what people should know, feel, and do when they're in those spaces, and as that connects to all the other places throughout the entire journey within the aquarium. Those are all different pieces that we consider.
Very good, very good. So I'm going to just ask you this last question. One of the things that we focus on, because our name is Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid, is sustainable solutions. So can you tell us why or how is the aquarium a sustainable solution?
Sure. So there's a lot of thoughts that come to mind with that. I mentioned that we have our conservation action plan, which is kind of the three big areas of changing climate, reducing plastics, and helping people and places. But within that, we do also have a goal to be net zero by 2035, which is a tall order. Right now, we have already made a lot of steps in that direction. For example, 40% of our energy comes from renewable energy sources. We work with the Aquarium Conservation Partnership to take new sustainable initiatives in our aquarium and then share with other aquariums how that has worked. For example, we have been single-use plastic free since 2017. And that took a lot of conversations with vendors, partners, all different things to make sure that there are no single-use plastics in our aquarium, and then sharing those resources and solutions with other aquariums and zoos so that they can also have an easier time taking those same steps. So being net zero free by 2035 is one of our bigger focuses for right now. And that is everything from thinking about how we heat our air and the water. Since we have a lot of water at the aquarium, we have gas boilers that we need to convert. We have a fleet of vehicles that we use for example, our educational programs or our rescue vehicles for marine mammals. And all of those need to be converted to an electric fleet. And that goal is 2030. We also are hoping that by the end of 2026, every single event that we host at the aquarium will be a zero waste event. Those are just kind of small little examples of all of those things that we'll be tackling over the next 10 years to get to that goal of net zero.
That's really good. I mean, because I'm thinking that you see yourself as a leader within the industry as an aquarium. I mean, you have a tall name, National Aquarium in Baltimore. So, and I will say this, maybe probably 15 years ago, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I came to an event. First time I ever heard anything about sustainability was through the National Aquarium in Baltimore. So that's why I know that you're a leader in these things. And it was actually a dinner. And it was a sustainability dinner. I had no idea what I was going to. So, it's wonderful to see how that has kind of expanded over the years as well. So,
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, despite the name National Aquarium, which was officially granted to us by Congress back in 1978, but we are a nonprofit organization. We're not federally funded, and so we really rely on people coming to the aquarium every single day, every single year to help further our conservation effort.
Thank you so much, Megan. So right now we're just going to kick it over to Haley. Obviously, we talked about a whole lot.
Yeah, well, I want to jump into the wetlands first. I go down there quite a bit, so I really enjoy it. Pardon. I really enjoy it. It seems like they're doing it in other places as well. And it really reminds me of kind of, a lot of people we talk to about regenerative agriculture. And they're talking about putting nutrients back in the soil to improve health and fertility. Really, it seems to me like this wetland thing is sort of regenerative aquaculture, or I don't know what the name is, or if there is a name, but we're really sort of rebuilding these wetlands. I remember I saw an exhibit in DC. They talked about the first Europeans visiting this area, and they were just shocked with how beautiful and pristine it was. And they could see for 40 feet in the water, and it was chock full of clams and mussels. And so I'm just wondering, is there plans to expand that? Is that a sort of a larger goal, is to sort of regenerate these wetlands?
So the design and the engineering that went into this, like you mentioned, is first of its kind. There's the way we solved for the fact that the plants that you see are not sitting on solid ground anywhere. So a real marsh would just be built off of solid ground, and then at high tide and low tide it would get flooded, which is fun, all those different pieces. So to solve for all of those different complications in nature and do something that still allows all of those plants and animals to thrive, we definitely created something very unique and sought after. So we have been contacted already by several different cities around the country that are interested in learning exactly how we did this so they can replicate it in their own areas. At this point, we don't have any plans to expand our current footprint, but I think that's also because we're going to be very busy helping other places do the exact same thing in their cities, and really bring that aquatic backyard back to people that live in cities.
That's great. I mean, yeah, every time I go down there, I see the turtles sunning themselves. It's like I can feel my stress reducing. I'm also really curious, you work a lot with the younger generations, students. I'm kind of curious what you see from them. Or does it resonate? I'm sure it's all over the map, but do you see them taking it seriously? Do you see them as up for the challenge? Are they optimistic? I'm just kind of curious what you see.
So with all the different youth groups that we work with, their energy, the level of energy and passion that they bring, always bowls me over every single time they come in through the door. It is like a shot of adrenaline every single time they walk in a room. And so I am not seeing a lack of energy, a lack of hope from this group. That they are bringing everything and more that we could hope that they would bring. I do know they look to all generations to help solve the problems of our environment. It's not just up to them, but we do recognize that they are some of our best people to speak on behalf of the environment. Studies show that adults are more likely to listen to teens talk about the environment and environmental issues than they are other adults.
Wow.
And so helping them feel like they really do have part of the solution in their hands, and we want to support them and get them to where they're feeling confident about themselves, so that they can speak on behalf of the things they love. We really love how all of our programs can help them with those aspects.
Great. That provides some optimism. We talk about these big problems on this show, and I'm always encouraged when I hear, younger people are sort of picking up the banner and getting engaged. One of the things we really like to talk about around here is how if a bunch of people sort of take small steps together, they can have a really big impact. And so I'm just kind of wondering what you hope visitors take away from their visit? I think you mentioned sort of just that connection with a wetland or water environment can sort of drive up that empathy. Are there other small things you guys recommend when they visit that they sort of take away in terms of improving the future sustainability?
Sure. The research that we do, we kind of focus on what's the best recommendation based on the age. So for our youngest guests we're talking 0 to 3, we are hoping to get them connected and empathetic. So acting like a jelly, wiggling like a worm, all of those different things where they can just start to connect. That's the action we ask for that youngest age. But then pretty quickly after 3, we can start asking with simple actions like turning lights off when you leave the room, turning the water off in between with brushing your teeth, things like that, just getting them a little bit more aware of those pieces. As you get into later elementary, early middle school, we then can even start scaling up to the pieces that involve community, like waste-free lunches or different actions that you can do at your school to encourage less paper use and different things like that, more recycling. And then with even older guests, then we're talking everything from advocacy, voting with the ocean in mind, making sure that the things that you're doing help your community, and working with all the communities that we have. We are more connected than ever these days. I know there's a lot to be discouraged about in terms of social media and all those different things, but with some of these resources, we have global connections like we've never had before. So that opens up different, even global scale community solutions for how we can all take action around us, in our neighbors, in our schools, in our churches, all those different places. There's potential for solutions.
You sort of answered my last question there, but I just wanted to kind of highlight, really seems like you guys do a great job of meeting people where they are. So whether it's the youngest or the oldest, you kind of have something for everybody, and they're kind of show their connection of local actions and the global impact of that. So all things we are very fond of over here. Is there anything else you want to add? Partners you want to thank, or just give you one last chance if there's anything we didn't cover? I think we may have covered it all pretty well.
Yeah, I can't think of anything at the moment.
Okay.
Any upcoming plans for the aquarium? Any building or projects?
Some of the projects are not as fun as Harbor Wetland. Our building is 44 years old and made of a lot of concrete, and so some of the projects that we are doing are just infrastructure updates to make sure that we can be an aquarium for another 44 years.
Right.
But besides that, some of the things that always change are our messages, the training that we give to our staff so that they can have the most relevant messages to the guests. And the animals. The animals are always doing something different every day. The Friday after 5, which is the Half Price Friday, animals act different at night than they do during the day, and that is a fascinating time to be in the rainforest. So there's always something at the aquarium, and if you don't even interact that much with the animals, you do just get a nice calm peace of mind from visiting the aquarium.
Definitely putting night aquarium visit on the list of things to do. I've only been there in the day, so I'm sure it's
the sloths get very active.
Wow.
That is interesting. The sloths.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you again for joining us on this episode of Sustainable Solutions with Planet Aid. We hope you've been inspired by the incredible stories and ideas we've explored today, and we encourage you to join us in finding sustainable solutions to the world's most pressing issues. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate getting a chance to speak with you.
Yeah,
that was great.
This is awesome.
And we're going to come down for a visit, right?
Yes, please. Let me know. I'll be there.